Have you ever wondered who the unsung heroes in history are? The people behind the scenes of the most historical events? The people textbooks won't really tell you about. Well, I will. I'm Courtney, and this is Decorated History. Like and subscribe to learn about all of the tastiest stories in history around. Today, we're talking about Noah Turnner Byars. You've probably never heard of him, and you definitely haven't heard of him if you aren't a native Texan. In the past 200 years, few men in Texas have contributed as much to the state's emancipation from Mexico, its material development, or its spiritual advancement as one small-statured and quick-witted man named Noah Turnner Byars. Though belated, he is finally getting his recognition. Born in Spartanburg, South Carolina, May 17, 1808, this much-loved man lived humbly but filled with amazing creativity. His services included such a variety of distinguished accomplishments and extended over such a wide variety of areas that I'm surprised that not many people know about him. Byars' education was limited, but his parents were passionate to teach him and he enjoyed homeschooling. At 16, he became a member of the church, and for a while even considered joining the ministry. Though he valued his religion and that career path, he was not confident in his own qualifications. Instead, he went to Georgia and studied to be a gunsmith. In 1835, he made his way to Texas. For Byars, Austin's colony at the start of Texas's war with Mexico could have proved that manufacturing guns would be profitable. In any event, he didn't rely on that expectation, and once he arrived in Texas, he chose to not limit his career to gunsmithing, but also engaged in the sale of real estate. Byars and his real estate partner, Peter Mercer, opened the Washington on the Brazos as Byars' blacksmith and gunsmith shop. The Washington on the Brazos also doubled as a meeting spot for Texas delegates, and on March 2, 1836, the Texas Declaration of Independence was penned and signed at the Washington on the Brazos, thus ending the Texas Revolution. Shortly after the declaration was signed, Sam Houston appointed Byars the armorer and blacksmith for the Texas Army, and he served as the sergeant-at-arms for the Texas Senate from 1837 to 1841. Maribel Lamar also appointed him as the armorer and blacksmith to the Native Americans at the same time. On January 21, 1838, Noah Turnner Byars married Sophia Loudon, and together they had 4 children. He served as the associate judge in Travis County from 1839 to 1841 and was elected for another term. However, he decided to decline that offer as he was ordained as a minister to the Baptist Church in 1841. This, along with Byars' passion for his religion, started his journey of spreading and growing the Baptist denomination across the state of Texas. Immediately, he was called to the pastorate of the Strong Providence Church in Burleson County that belonged to the Carroll brothers. His success was backed by Byars' efforts to open what Judge Baylor referred to as one of the most handsomest church edifices to be seen in all of Texas. Though he was dedicated to the church, Byars could not pull away from public office just yet. When Sam Houston returned for his second term as president of the Republic in 1842, Byars accepted his second appointment as armorer and blacksmith to the Texas Army and the Native Americans. However, he only kept that position for 6 months. Houston tried to convince him to stay longer and expressed that he and Byars shared the desire to help the Native Americans and hoped to build some degree of civilization for them. For Byars, though, he had a bigger plan. He wanted to become a missionary and travel west to Navarro County. The vast county that stretched from Burleson County to Palo Pinto County and lays between the Brazos and the Trinity River needed some religious reformation, and Byars couldn't pass up the challenge. In response to this news, Sam Houston named Byars Notary of the Public. This was a much larger deal than it is today. For Byars, Notary of the Public allowed him to supplement his income as a missionary and continued earning a government wage. At the same time, the Texas Republic granted him the allocation of 3,129 acres of land in exchange for his efforts as an armorer in the Texas Revolution. Byars built his family home on that land to raise his sons Adoniram Judson Byars, Thomas Jefferson Byars, Samuel Houston Byars, and Baylor Thomas Byars. When the village of Dresden was built on a corner of the Byars property and the owners bought cows, people believed that it would lead to great wealth for Byars. That idea increased in 1847 when Dresden was considered as a potential location of the capital of newly formed Navarro County. The location committee, however, passed up Dresden for a campsite midway between it and Porter's Bluff on the Trinity River. Jose A. Navarro named the location Corsicana after Corsica, his father's birthplace. As of 1848, when this was done, Navarro County contained in whole or in part of the counties we now know as Hill, Ellis, Tarrant, Hood, McLennan, Limestone, Johnson, Parker, and Palo Pinto counties. Those who knew Byars well knew he was not interested in money. This was evident when he didn't press his suits when he collected rent money for his real estate investments, one of which was a property that we now famously know as Independence Hall. But in the coming years, he began selling off his property to local residents. In 1851, Byars moved to Waco, where he organized the First Baptist Church. Within a few years, he was poor, but continued to push west, no matter the cost. At no point did Byars regret becoming a missionary. His diligence and passion, his sacrifices, his courage in the face of dangers, his extreme exposures and tireless rides of over 100,000 miles through the rural settlements amazed the most indifferent and won the respect and admiration of everyone around. His efforts were justified because by 1848, he had organized 6 churches in Navarro County. Along with these 6 churches, he organized at the Providence Church the Trinity River Association. He also invited Judge Baylor of Corsicana and highly revered Texas Baptist Z.N. Morrell to join his Trinity River Association to help guide him in his mission. Byars is credited with setting up a total of 65 churches and 3 district associations. Many of the rural and village churches have since been closed, but most of the large town and city churches established by him live on to perpetuate his incomparable work. Churches in Corsicana, Waco, Belton, Brownwood, and others. Byars' mission was more than just building new churches, and he liked to combine his evangelism with education. He was one of the leaders that started the Texas Baptist Education Society in 1845, which originated Baylor University, chartered by the Republic of Texas. He also opened Golconda Academy in Palo Pinto County, which is now referred to as the Brazos Institute. This was such an exciting opportunity that Rufus Burleson left his presidency at Baylor to be the head of Golconda. He later created the Byars Institute in Houston. That taught classes for both boys and girls from elementary through high school. Byars is also credited for establishing Mary Hardin Baylor, Howard Payne University, and others. Noah Byars passed away in 1888, and he was recognized at the Baptist General Convention that year, with members describing his work as timeless and saying it will live when the world has burned and the stars have faded from the sky. Byars fervently preached belief in an immortality in another world, but we can claim that he attained an immortality in this world, most certainly in Texas. Noah T. Byars will forever be remembered for his participation in Texas's independence, his dedication to the Texas Army as the blacksmith and armorer, and for his missionary work that led to the establishment of many churches, counties, and schools in Texas. One thing I'll remember him for the most, though, is that Noah Turner Byars is my great-great-great-great-grandfather, and I am proud to share his story. Let me know of any undiscovered stories you want to hear in the comments below. Maybe next time I'll make them decorated history.